Oh, all hot now all of a sudden. Drinking hot coffee. Uh, wow, I'm happy I angled it like this to get that little cutie in the shot there. Why don't you stay there the whole time, eh? Just stay there, okay? Don't move. That's the goal, Audrey. That's the goal, baby. You don't move for the entire duration of this video. Oh well. Oh well, what can you do? So in the title, oh wow. Got all got all this white shit in there now. Gotta clear that out. Yeah, I still don't know if you're supposed to swallow those things or not, but I just chomp on them. Vitamin D, right? Be COVID free. Chomp down a lot of vitamin D. Drink a lot of orange juice, something. Milk, I guess, has a lot of vitamin D. And, you know, be healthy out there, people. So, 10 movies. It's been like what? Like probably 5 minutes since I did one of these last. God knows what number we're at now when it comes to these 10 movies. But I wanted to do a list of 10 movies. I'll probably be pretty quick with this one, or I'll try to be. Usually whenever I say I'll be quick, it takes me an hour to describe each and every damn movie that I'm referring to here. But let's try to gun through these as fast as possible. So usually I like to go in order to which I last watched them. But and we will, like 2 to 10 like are all in order from like most recently watched to like the one that's furthest from my memory. So as these go along, you might notice me like flubbing a few things here and there and maybe messing up a few like plot details, not remembering exactly who's in it or what the character's name is, blah blah blah. But this first movie, I wanted to name this one first. I wanted to talk about this one first because it's you know, it's one of those movies that I've seen it once before when it first came out. Probably in I think this came out around 2008 or 9, 10 maybe, something like that. Like sometime in the 2000s era, late 2000s, I guess. But this is directed by Bobcat Goldthwait, starring Robin Williams. This is World's Greatest Dad. And yeah, this might be the darkest comedy I've ever seen. And and wow, like watching it the second time, knowing about something that happens in this movie, and you know, I'm not going to spoil anything for this movie. I really don't want to spoil this in case you haven't seen it. If you've seen this movie though, I'm pretty sure you know exactly what I'm referring to when I say this is a dark comedy. And it's really stuck with me throughout the years. And watching it again with a friend recently, and she had never seen it before. You know, she thought, especially from the cover, the poster to the movie looks like your generic run-of-the-mill comedy. You know, once you click on it, it's like, hey, this is a lot raunchier than I thought it'd be. Like the poster for this makes it seem like it's rated PG or PG-13. Some other critic here on YouTube, I forget their name. I think it was like maybe Off the Shelf Reviews. But they did a great, that fella did a great review of this, a spoiler-free review, which amazed me because a critic that I respect, Mark Kermode, you know, he right away like spoils the the main twist, the main twist to this movie, and even describing the fact that it has a twist to it is kind of a spoiler in a certain sense, but I won't get into details about what it is. I do want to make a separate video about this at some point. Like there are so many movies I want to do separate videos on, but this one, especially with having watched it with a friend of mine recently and seeing her reaction to this particular sequence in this movie, it was really quite eye-opening, and it really brought to mind the level of like just brilliance on display from this movie, the marvelous, masterful performance from Robin Williams at the heart of this movie. It's really quite tragic when you compare and contrast like the two things without a. This is going to be very confusing if you haven't seen the movie, because I don't even want to allude to what happens in this movie. All I can say is that now is the perfect time to watch this movie. If you're looking for a movie that will not only make you laugh, but will also at some point in the movie where you least expect it, it will genuinely shock you. It will genuinely horrify you. Now is the perfect time to watch this movie, in my opinion, because we couldn't have picked a better time to watch this movie. I'm so happy to have seen it again. I thought it was excellent, a masterpiece when I first watched it. And watching it again the second time around, I was reminded even more of how underrated, how brilliant this was. Again, Robin Williams giving quite possibly his best performance, in my opinion. He is just, he is so great here, especially in this shocking sequence that I'm referring to, that I will not delve into. I may, like I alluded to, make a separate video about this particular scene, because it's a scene from a movie that, you know, especially a movie like this that markets itself as a raunchy comedy, it will just stick with me forever. I will never forget this movie for this particular scene, and the unfortunate, tragic nature of how it relates to a certain somebody else in the cast. I mean, this is just. Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about this movie. All I can say is that it has a marvelous performance at the heart of it. It's got great writing, just a really wonderful movie, and I definitely want to talk about it in depth. I want to get into spoilers about it someday in a separate video that I will mark as like having spoilers within it. Because I really, really want to talk about this movie in depth, but I don't feel like this is the right avenue to do so here. Moving on now, however, number 2, The Condemned. I have no fucking problem spoiling the shit out of this movie. So if you, for some odd reason, have, whatever reason, the tendency, if you feel like watching a WWE movie with Stone Cold Steve Austin, where he doesn't even try to act in this, you know, and none of the actors are doing great work here, none of them at all. The closest one that gives a decent performance, I guess, is the main antagonist of this film. I'm not talking about Vinnie Jones. Vinnie Jones sucks in it as well. He's basically playing the same character he does in every goddamn movie he's in. The only movie I've ever liked Vinnie Jones in is Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, if that's what it's called. I forget. He's fine in that movie. But yeah, The Condemned. What a piece of shit this movie is. This movie's fucking god-awful, you guys. One of the worst movies I've seen recently. It's one of those movies that you sort of go like, oh, I guess this isn't bad at first, but once you get to the nitty-gritty with this movie, like once you get to the action sequences are fucking terrible in this movie, for one. It's that shaky cam fucking garbage where you can't tell what the hell is going on. and you got these what should be professional stuntmen. I mean, like, I know Stone Cold or Steve Austin, you know, like, I think he has like a neck injury or something like that. So maybe you can't exactly do like hardcore one take steady cam stunts with him. But, you know, he's a pretty jacked guy, and he's being built up in this throughout the course of this movie as this rough and tumble badass, this all-American hero guy. And like, there's not a single action sequence in this movie that can just hold on a shot for more than a second or two. It is absolutely pathetic. Any action movie that squanders its potential like this, I mean, because you want to watch a movie like this for the action sequences, not for shaky cam garbage. The only sort of film that does the shaky cam well is like the Bourne series, especially Bourne Ultimatum. I'm hard pressed to think of like other movies that do the shaky cam effectively. Like, you got the Taken movies, which are terrible. Like, especially like the later ones. Like, the first one's okay, but Taken 2 and especially 3, it's just like nonsense. Like, obviously Liam Neeson can't do these stunts. I'm pretty sure Steve Austin can do these stunts though. Like, even at whatever age he was in this film, maybe 40s, 50s, I can't remember. But, you know, you look at him, you go, like, he's jacked, you know, he should be able to do this stuff in one take and, like, have the camera just hold on him. But no, like, it's too busy jumping around. The plot is a mess. Like, this movie was so god-awful, and I don't like this film, but it made me look back fondly on the Hunger Games. I've only seen the first film of the Hunger Games, but it somehow, this movie was so bad, it made me look fondly back to the Hunger Games and go, you know what? I may not have liked that movie for what it was, but at least I remember the main character's name, Katniss Everdeen, I think. At least I actually cared about that character, unlike this schmuck. You know, like, I don't care about this guy. I'm just watching this basically because, hey, it's Steve Austin, and I was waiting for him to stone cold stunner somebody, but of course he doesn't do that because he ain't playing Steve Austin in this movie. You know, the acting's terrible, the action is god-awful. It's some of the worst action sequences I've ever seen, quite frankly. Like, I can't even stress the writing's bad, the music the music is by far the most shockingly, I don't know if they're going for unintentional comedy here, but they got at least 2 or 3 songs in this movie that are so god awfully bad, like on the nose bad. Like, I almost don't want to spoil it, but at the end, like, the last song they play during the last scene of this fucking movie is Nickelback's "Savin' Me." So, and they like, it's supposed to be like this heartfelt, triumphant moment, but all of a sudden, like, I'm like, wait a minute, I hear the opening, like, dun-dun-dun, and I'm like, I know this fucking song. It's been a while since I've heard this shit. Nickelback's "Savin' Me." You kidding me? Like, it was terrible, man. This is a terrible movie. Like, it's not even unintentionally bad. Like, when I'm describing it, it may sound unintentionally bad, but trust me, it's not. Like, this movie is just cringeworthy. It's pathetic, lazy, sloppy, just absolute gunk, man. I couldn't stand this movie. It's mean-spirited. Like, the Vinnie Jones character at one point, like, just outright rapes this woman, and you know, and there's like brutal torture in this, and like the end of like the only amusing part, like, I'll give it credit where it's due. The only amusing part I found about this movie is involving Vinnie Jones at the end. Like, he sort of walks into this room where they've been editing together this, like, sort of live feed for this Condemned.com live feed that they're showing to the world. And he sort of walks into this room and he just starts like machine gunning everybody to death. And I got a slight chuckle out of that because I'm like, like, okay, at least these characters are getting what they deserve for publishing this disgusting material to the world, you know. So that was like the one moment of this movie that I liked. But after that, I mean, Vinnie Jones, of course he's gonna die by the end because he's just such a vile, cruel villain. But his death is honestly one of the lamest deaths for a villain I have ever fucking seen in my life. Absolutely pathetic. Pathetic. So Steve Austin shoots him, but you don't even see like the gunshots connect. You just see him go like, and he's sitting down like on a chair, and he just goes I was expecting like a bit of an action sequence, you know, like for these guys to toss each other around the room or something, some Steven Seagal type shit where Steve Austin's just dominating this guy for all of the terrible things that he's done throughout this movie. Because this movie, if I haven't stressed it enough before, I'll stress it again now. This movie is mean-spirited, disgusting, bile, like absolute trash. Definitely one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Initially, about halfway through, I thought this is middle of the road. It depends on how it ends. But the more I thought about this movie, and I slept on it last night. I watched this real late last night before going to bed, and I just, like, I fell asleep pissed off. I woke up pissed off. Like, this is not a pleasant movie in any regard. This is one of the worst, absolute terrible movies I've ever seen. Real pathetic. Shame on the filmmakers, shame on the writers, shame on everybody involved in this movie, quite frankly. I think it's pure trash. 100% trash. I give it my lowest score of fuck you to this movie, and fuck you to everybody involved in it, even Steve Austin. I don't know what the fuck he was thinking. This was just absolute fucking garbage. Fucking terrible movie, man. The Condemned, 1 out of 10, 0 out of 10 even. Like, literally, this may just be the worst fucking movie I've ever seen in my life. I'm not even kidding. This movie pissed me off so much. I was so upset with how mean-spirited it was. And, like, they have some sort of anti-violence bullshit message halfway through this movie where they're implying to the viewer that you should be ashamed in yourself for watching this. And it's like, no, you should be ashamed of yourself for making this trash, for like making this violence seem pleasant, you know, like, because like it has a way of, you know, it does its little posturing on the podium, like, oh, you should be ashamed for watching this type of snuff film garbage. But really, it's the fucking filmmakers who are the real criminals here. Like, this is more loathsome than any of the Friday the 13th films. This is more loathsome than any of the slasher films, like, was it Last House on the Left? Because at least that film made the violence and the rape, like, as disgusting and as vile. Like, it's not, this film, like, it almost sensationalizes it and trivializes it, if you will. Like, it's just, this is an abomination. I don't know who the hell in their right mind could ever give this film a positive recommendation. I think these people are absolutely out of their fucking minds. Like, to each their own, of course. Like, this film was critically panned, mind you. Most audiences, I think, are split on it, but God, man, I don't know what the people giving this positive reviews could possibly have seen in this movie. I think it's just, if you couldn't tell from me ranting for the past 5 to 10 minutes, this movie, I abso-fucking-lutely hated this movie, and I pity the poor souls that actually spent money for whether it be the DVD or a ticket at the theater. Totally not worth it, man. This film is just trash. Just trash. Moving on now, because fuck this movie, The Condemned. Like, one of the worst fucking movies I've ever seen in my life, man. Pathetic. Number 3, Marked for Death. So these next 3 films I'm going to talk about are Steven Seagal trifecta. Steven Seagal, like for some reason, like I felt like watching Steven Seagal films. It was probably because like I had recently watched this podcast, I think it's the Art of Action podcast that Scott Adkins does, and Scott Adkins is probably my favorite action star now. Like he's keeping the action genre alive. Him and guys like Michael Jai White, and like just awesome martial artists like that, and Jackie Chan, of course, as well. He's still alive and kicking, doing films overseas and whatnot. God, I can't get over how terrible The Condemned was. But Marked for Death, though, this is a movie that I saw as a kid, and thinking back to it, I'm shocked that I saw this as a kid, quite frankly, because there's quite a lot of nudity in this film. There's quite a lot of like really graphic violence in this film, and yeah, I like this film. You know, like. I don't think I loved it as much as I wanted to, but I genuinely like this film. I think it might be Seagal's either second or third best film. I mean, that isn't saying much, in my opinion at least. Like, he doesn't have a lot of good films on his repertoire. At best, it's usually middle of the road, but we'll get to one that I think is actually really, really great in a second here. But Marked for Dead, it really does benefit from having a compelling villain and this main antagonist here, I forget his name and the actor's name, but it's like this crazy guy. I can't get his like eyes. Like I'm pretty sure he's wearing contacts, but he's got like these like bright green eyes, and he's got like these like, they call him Screwface. That's his name, Screwface, and he's got like these like sort of markings on his the side of his face and his back as well, and he's a very memorable villain. And if you want to make if you want a really great Seagal movie, like, you start with having a great antagonist, and we'll get to one that's even better in a second here, because I don't think this is the best antagonist from a Seagal movie. But he's probably the second best, if not the third best. I mean, Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey alike were pretty damn good in Under Siege, but I think Under Siege is actually pretty mediocre. I think that one gets quite a lot of leeway. I didn't really get why everybody was all like going, "Oh, Under Siege is so awesome." It's like, it's okay. It has a couple good action sequences, I guess. Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey, though, are easily the best parts about that movie. And maybe the woman, like the love interest, if you will, like, because she has like a nude scene in that movie, so maybe you can count that in there as well for a little bit of titillation, if you will. But Marked for Death, speaking of titillation, has a lot of it in this movie. A lot of gratuitous nudity in this movie. A lot of extreme violence. I mean, this movie, I feel like I'm forgetting most of this movie having just like watched it. Like, there's a lot of stupid shit in this movie. Like, at a number of points they can easily just kill Seagal, but they don't. Like, they're crushing him with this like, what do you call those things? Like I don't know, some sort of machinery vehicle. Like, it's got the arm on it. I forget what the hell you call those. I'm such a dumbass. But they're squishing Seagal's beautiful car. Like, he's driving this really gorgeous car that just gets wrecked at one point, and that's cool to sort of see them wreck these nice cars in movies like these. But like they could just keep squishing him with this arm attached to this like machine vehicle or whatever. I'm so out to lunch when it comes to like just knowledge and shit like that. Wow, I'm just so out of it. But instead of just squishing him, they throw this like Molotov cocktail or two into his car where he's like sort of trapped inside. And then they're just like burning hell, and they walk away instead of watching him like go up in flames. They're just like, they walk away. It's like, what are you doing? Like, you could have either just shot him or you could have just like kept squishing, which would have been the preferred method, because like that's like one of the scariest ways to die, is like being like slowly crushed by something. That would be a horrifying way to go. Like what one of the Saw movies, one of the terrible ones, had a like really crazy great ending where like the guy's getting squished and you see it in like graphic detail. He's slowly getting squished while the antagonist is sort of like watching and smiling below him, and it's just like that. The movie was terrible, but hey, it's got a hell of a great ending, that Saw movie. I forget which number it was. But yeah, Marked for Death, I mean, it doesn't have a lot going for it, but, you know, it has a memorable villain at least. It has Keith David in him, in this movie. I like Keith David a lot. It has a lot of great supporting actors in this movie, actually. And some fun sequences of Seagal just like slamming people around. Like there's this one scene, I think it takes place in a bank or a jewelry store, and he's just slamming bad guys through like glass and shit like that. And it's always fun, and he's breaking people's arms and legs. And it's always fun seeing Seagal manhandle these bad guys in these movies. But other than that, I mean, this film doesn't got much going for it. The plot is pretty generic and pretty stupid, and the characters are wafer thin. In fact, like there are characters that are set up, and the way this movie ends is quite disappointing, because you almost expect it to have like one last scene at the end involving this little girl who gets injured at one point. You're kind of curious about how she turns out, or if she's okay, but like the movie just sort of ends, and it's just like, oh, okay, like for all you know, she could have like died because she was in a coma with the bald guy from the Terminator who was interviewing Sarah Connor, and the psychiatrist or whatever his name is, I forget. But yeah, a lot of recognizable actors in this movie, and it's fun. You know, if you're looking for a fun action movie with a bit of nudity, a bit of violence in it, some cool action sequences that are actually filmed well, like you can see what the hell is going on, which is the number one thing when it comes to action movies, even if it's crap. Like and I was harping on this movie with Scott Adkins a while ago called Accident Man, but you know, at least watching that movie, I could tell what the hell was going on in the action sequences, and at least that film had like a plethora of great action sequences throughout, as opposed to The Condemned, which is just trashed. But Marked for Death, if you're looking for a reliable, like solid action movie, this is reliable enough. I think most people would get a kick out of this movie. But the next movie, though, number 4, Out for Justice. By God, I have never seen this film before, but I wish I had. You know, if I could take back all the other Seagal movies I'd seen, I wish I could replace them all with just this one. Out for Justice is literally one of the best action movies I have ever seen in my life, and I can't believe I'm saying that about a Seagal movie, honestly, because I think most people have come to terms with the fact that Seagal isn't necessarily a good guy. Like, most people know that he's really shady, that he's a weird dude, that he's got a lot of sexual assault allegations, and like his stint as the lawman or whatever that series was got somebody killed, got an innocent person killed. So yeah, he's not a good dude, but put all that aside, and like like for as bad as he is, it's hard not to root for him, especially in this movie Out for Justice, because like with Marked for Death, but even better, we got a fantastic villain in this movie. One of the best villains in an action film ever, honestly, in my opinion. I need a sip of this because it's getting lukewarm. I love how I say a sip and then I just gulp it all down. Screw it. It was getting too cold. I can't let coffee get too cold like that. Out for Justice, though, it benefits from having one of the best action film antagonists of all time, and William Forsythe. I forget the character's name, damn it. I think it's like Bobby. Or no, Bobby's the guy who gets killed at the beginning. Damn it, what's the guy's name? I forget, but I really love this actor, William Forsythe. This might be his best performance, actually, because he's just so like he is so evil. Like he enjoys being evil, and it's this is the best sort of villain performance when like you can tell the actor just loves like being evil and they're just having a glorious time with it. A credit goes to the script as well, because the script does a marvelous job from the get-go in making Seagal a likable character. You know, even with what I know about him personally being not a good guy, I couldn't help but right from the get-go, like Steven Seagal. I don't think I've ever really liked the character of Steven Seagal's in a movie before, but in this, like, I liked him. I liked him in this movie. I liked his character. Because right from the get-go, they set him up as this guy who's willing to go out of his way to defend good people. You know, there's this prostitute who's getting slapped and punched around by her pimp at the beginning, and like his partner's going like, no, don't go out, like don't, like we gotta stay in the van, like in order to bust these guys. But like, you know, it's like they obviously set it up in a way where it's like, okay, we're going to almost be forced into liking this guy because he's willing to make those tough choices, and that's how you make a likable protagonist. You make it so that they make the hard choices, you know, and even though it's pretty basic the way they set it up, it's effective, and it's effective filmmaking. It's effective writing in making your character immediately likable. In fact, there's another scene where, you know, and the most obvious example is that if you want to make your character likable, especially a action protagonist, you give them a dog, or you make them save a dog. So at one point there's a dog who gets tossed out of some schmuck's car, and the dog's in this like garbage bag all tied up and shit. And Seagal like opens up the bag and like carries the dog, and like at one point he's buying dog food and treats for the dog. However, there's one scene, it's the only scene that kind of lost me. There's one scene where I was really worried about the dog's safety, in all honesty. There's one scene where for some reason he goes upstairs with his wife, and they're kind of going through this divorce proceedings. And he goes upstairs with his wife, but instead of bringing the goddamn dog inside, which he should have, he leaves the dog in the car. But once you see like where the scene was going, and I'm surprised I didn't see it myself, once you see where it's going, like once you get past that, you kind of know. It's like, oh, okay, that's why he left the dog in the car. It's not because that's the smartest thing to do as a dog owner, but it's because there's this action sequence that happens in there, and I don't think they wanted to put the dog at risk, you know, like getting involved with the action. So it makes sense once like you sort of see where the scene progresses too. So like that's literally my one complaint with this film. I haven't got anything else to complain about. What I like about this film, you know, and I keep going back to The Condemned, but like another thing that separates something like this from that movie is that like they don't linger on the disgusting acts of these villains. Like at one point it's implied that the villain does rape this woman, but it doesn't graphically show you, or like it doesn't linger on her like screaming in agony and shit like that just like gets under your skin. It just like it sort of implies it, you know, like and it makes it more horrifying, the fact that it like seeps in your mind. It makes you hate this villain more, but at the same time, the fact that it doesn't show you like him doing this vile act, it kind of makes it so that you can still like be entertained by how like absolutely outright villainous this guy is. Like he is like like he is like just madman villain. Like he's just shooting people point blank for basically just like for saying, "Hey, get out of the way," and then he just like grabs somebody and fucking shoots them in the head. Basically at the start of the movie for like just saying like, "Hey, get out of the way," and he just goes, "Fuck you," boom. And it's like it's so entertaining watching this guy just like be a bad guy. Like it's great. And because you know that by the end, when Seagal eventually catches up to him, because of course he will, come on. Like you know that he's gonna get his, like, he's gonna get what's coming to him by the end. And let me tell you, the last fight scene in this movie, it basically isn't even a fight scene. It's this glorious beatdown that feels like it lasts for an eternity of just like slamming the guy around. It's quite honestly one of my favorite fight sequences, and the villain like doesn't even really do any damage to Seagal from what I remember. It's just like Seagal like dominating the whole time, and it's so satisfying because the director, the writer, everybody involved was smart enough to realize, okay, we've built up this antagonist to be the worst type of human being. We've gotta linger. Like, we gotta, like, torture this guy. Like, we gotta, like, really make this guy suffer for all the crimes that he's done. And this film, it does not disappoint. I was so damn impressed with everything involved in this movie, quite frankly. I liked the Steven Seagal character. I liked the villain character. I liked like all the side characters. Even like and there's this awesome scene, of course, in like this pool hall where Seagal is just like going around bullying all these jerk offs. Like, and he's tossing people into phone booths and shutting the door behind him, and like it's just so much fun. Even if you know, like myself, that Seagal is legitimately a dickhead in real life, it's just so much fun watching him go around beating the hell out of people with a pool ball, like or whatever you'd call it, like a cue ball or whatever. I don't know. I'm losing track of all my words now. Losing my vocabulary here. Man, oh man, I'm just losing my brain cells day by day by day. But yeah, it's so much fun just seeing him like whacking guys in the face. Also, that's another slight like weird thing. Like in this like same bar or pool hall scene, like at one point he shoots a gun off into the ceiling, and I was like, wait, he shot the gun? Because like the sound design was so bad that it like you could barely hear it. It's like, okay, I thought I heard something go off, but like the dialogue is louder than the gunshot. And like when he's whacking people with this ball, like that he's got wrapped up in like a towel, like that is louder than the gunshot. It's like, what is going on here? It's the only, like, that and the scene involving the dog being left in the car are the only two scenes, my only two minor nitpicks. But other than that, I think this film is a perfect action film, in all honesty. Say what you will about Seagal, I don't care. I think this is one of the best action movies I've ever seen. You want me to like Seagal? Give him a dog. Like, make him rescue a dog. You know, that is the most obvious key to anybody's heart, in my opinion. You know, you make the hero like save a dog. I mean, it's the save the cat moment that like screenwriters talk about. You know, it's the ultimate way of making you root for an action hero, and I've never seen that before from a Seagal movie. Normally, like, he has like this mean streak, like at the start of Marked for Death, he's chasing Danny Trejo around, and he's just tossing random, just bumping into random civilians for no reason, and he's not like acting. Like when he sees like people in Marked for Death, when he sees these guys like dealing crack to like what I assume are underage girls, like. And Keith David's looking at them like, oh, like I want to get these guys, but Seagal's like, no, don't worry about it. And it's shit like that makes you not root for him. Like, it's like he's not making those hard choices. He's not making those heroic choices like he is like literally off the bat, like first minute or two of this movie, he's making the hard choice to go and save this prostitute from potentially getting killed by her pimp. It's wow. I can't praise this movie enough. I never thought I'd see the day where I'd praise a Steven Seagal movie of all things to the high heavens, but I gotta say, man, like in spite of my feelings towards the guy, you can't deny that this film is just at least it's one of his best in my opinion. I think it is his best by a wide margin. Like I think all the other movies pale in comparison. Under Siege, Above the Law, which we'll get to next. But you know, and like his best movies in those senses, like Above the Law, Marked for Death, Under Siege, Hard to Kill, they're all solid action movies. But Out for Justice is just such a better written movie, and the action sequences are so much better. The characters are such like they're written better. The script in general is better written than any Seagal movie deserves. I mean, the fact that the writer actually cared, like sat down and thought like, hey, I got to make this guy likable. Like the fact that he took the steps to make him likable and to make the villain like the most vile villain you could possibly imagine. I mean, it's just great stuff. I can't praise this movie enough. Give it my highest recommendation. 10 out of 10. I don't care what people say. They're like, you're shilling for Seagal. It's like fuck you, man. Like I know who Seagal is, but you know what? You can't take away the fact that I simply can't help myself. I enjoy a good movie. I enjoy great cheesy action movie, and this definitely this is definitely one of them. You know, it brought me back to the days of watching Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando. It has that same sort of vibe about it. You know, like where Arnold is just like. You know, he's just jacked and he wants to save his daughter and he's like spouting off one-liners. Obviously, Seagal doesn't have the same level of charisma as Schwarzenegger, but he makes up for it in the fact that, like, you know, he's doing these crazy action sequences. Like, at one point, he's fighting with this, like, pool stick. And it's like, wow, that's, like, it's super cool watching this guy work. So final Seagal movie we'll talk about here is Above the Law. I don't got much to say about this one. I thought this one was pretty mediocre, actually. I think this was Seagal's first movie. Yeah, I think so. But you know what? I gotta give him credit. I mean, he is pretty damn good in this movie. It might just be his best performance. Like, you know, at one point, like I don't think he's like crying literally, but at one point, like he's sitting down and reminiscing about the death of a certain character, and it works. You know, you don't see him literally cry, but you see the tears on his face, and he's sitting down reminiscing about it. And it's like, okay, like he's at least trying here, and you know, this one's got some decent action sequences in it as well. Like not as many that I remember actually. And quite honestly, the last sort of action sequence in this movie is like really disappointing in my opinion. It just sort of like, and the build up to it is just nonsense. I mean, there's like 5 or 6 guys around Seagal, and he's tied to a chair, and somehow these guys are so stupid. Like they somehow all like get killed within like, it's like literally within 10 to 15 seconds. They all just get blown away or like get their neck snapped from Seagal. It's fun. It's fun to watch these guys get dispatched like that in such like a quick sequence, but it's it's quite disappointing. Like it makes you wish that it lasted longer. It's not as satisfying as the last action sequence of Out for Justice. That's just for damn sure. Above the Law, I mean, it's okay though. I mean, it has Pam Grier in it, so that's pretty damn awesome. And Seagal's like he's trying here, like I mentioned before. This is probably his best performance. Take that as you will. I mean, it's nothing groundbreaking, but at least he's trying here. Yeah, I actually don't got much to say about this movie now that I think about it. I mean, it's I think it was directed by the same guy who made Under Siege, and he later went on to make The Fugitive with Tommy Lee Jones and Harrison Ford. Though I may be wrong about this. Don't quote me. I think the director's name of this though is Andrew Davis. But yeah, this film's okay. It's one of those like middle of the road action movies. Like it's good, but at the same time, it doesn't like it isn't strong enough to go break through that threshold of like being great. You know, like it's just like it's just steady enough, balanced enough to be like okay. Like it's not mediocre, but it's just okay. It's moderately good. You know, and movies like that sometimes are just annoying because like they're not really fun to talk about. It's just like literally I watched it a few days ago and I'm struggling to think of much to talk about with it in all honesty. But again, to bring up that piece of shit Condemned, I mean like this film like just is like just so much better than that piece of garbage. I mean, at least you can tell what's going on with the action, and you know, at least it isn't like mean spirited in like any over the top like sort of vile serious way that just makes you hate the filmmakers involved. It isn't that bad. It's just it's okay, you know. It's like if you want to give it a shot, give it a shot. I mean, it's not that bad, but in my opinion, I would probably just skip this one. Maybe just watch the highlights online because it does have highlights. It's just yeah, like there's this scene where he's just throwing guys around in this like butcher shop, and that's a fun sequence. That's probably the standout sequence of the movie. So go watch that on YouTube here. And yeah, like leave it at that. I wouldn't really necessarily recommend this film, but if you're looking for an okay Seagal action vehicle, it's just that. It's okay. Next film, oh god, man, this is going to be a weird one to talk about. Next film, number 6, Vampire's Kiss with Nicolas Cage. This is I really wanted to love this film in all honesty, but you know what? I thought it was okay. You know, like guys like Chris Stuckman are like, oh, this movie's so hilarious, but it's like, yeah, it's funny. You know, like it's more funny in my opinion watching the highlight clips on YouTube than it is watching the movie itself, because the movie itself is really quite mean spirited. Actually, like I was really shocked at how. Like the most obvious comparison I can make between this and another film is I'd compare this to something like American Psycho. Obviously, that is a much better film with a much better performance in Christian Bale at the heart of that movie. Much better supporting actors in Willem Dafoe, Jared Leto. Like every supporting actor in that movie is just brilliant. That's one of the best movies ever in my opinion. But Vampire's Kiss, like it's really just like holding like by a thread with that over the top zany performance from Nicolas Cage. He is so like over the top and coked up here that like he's the only thing that's holding this movie together. And like I gotta admit too, like this film does have some clever sort of subversions. There's this like the best scene in the film is close to the end. He's got like blood on his face and he's sort of like haggard, like his suit is all like messed up and tie is all he's all disheveled, and he's carrying around this like wooden stake with him, and he's sort of like talking to this wall and talking to people on the streets, and apparently this was all like improvised and captured like sort of like improvised like in the manner like he would just run up to people and say, I'm a vampire, kill me, like, and like it's hilarious watching these people's reaction. It's sort of like something like Borat would do with just like catching people off guard and sort of just like you're not necessarily laughing at Borat, you're more so laughing at the people because of like their confused reactions, like, is this guy for real? So I would like I'm more like this is a weird movie to talk about because I both kind of love it and I both kind of hate it at the same time, because it is very like oddly very mean spirited, this film. Like it's got a lot of workplace harassment in it. with this supporting actress. I forget her name, but her character's name is Elva. Too late, too late, too late. And like she is just like so sad. But like the actress, I mean, and I kind of feel bad for the actress because I don't think she's very good in this film, but her character is just like literally, okay, your character is to be harassed by Nicolas Cage, and that's where it starts and stops. It's just literally that. It's just like you're supposed to be sad, scared, depressed, crying, you name it. There's not much to her performance, but I feel like this actress does a good job with the material. It's just like the character is just so like she like it seems like yeah, she's standing up for herself, but you almost wish that she'd do more. And the way this film ends, it's just like such a flat line. The way this film ends, it's such a god awful ending, fucking terrible ending in my opinion. It just sort of like stops. It's like, oh, that's it. Like, come on, man. The just one of the lamest endings, quite honestly, I've ever seen to a movie. Kind of like ruined the film for me. I wouldn't watch this film again, quite honestly. I think that ending really undoes a lot of the good things that this film sets up. Like, it's fucking not that good. Other than the Nicolas Cage crazy coked up performance, that's about it. Like, and again, like the sequence where he's sort of talking to the wall, like imagining that he's talking to his psychiatrist. I mean, that's a interesting twist. Like, because you see him talking to this therapist or psychiatrist, whatever she is, throughout the movie. But like in this last scene with her, he's sort of imagining he's there talking with her, and it's really quite funny in this sort of darkly comedic way. And it's the smartest thing about this movie. But like, again, to go back to American Psycho, that film did it much better by, you know, not being upfront with it. You know, it sort of left it up to you. Like the whole, is it in his head? Did he actually kill these people or did he not? Like, it's sort of left up to you as a audience member to decide what's real and what's not. Which I appreciate it when filmmakers are decent enough to let audiences decide for themselves rather than spoon feed the answers to them. Like, say for instance the Joker movie, where they just outright reveal that, hey, he was imagining his girlfriend character being there with him the whole time. And it's like, you don't need to show us scenes that obviously like show us, hey, like she wasn't real that whole time, ha ha ha. Like, you didn't need to show us that. Like, it worked in Fight Club. Like it worked better in that movie where they, not to spoil Fight Club, and never talk about Fight Club. First rule, right? Yeah, so I don't got much else to say about Vampire's Kiss. I mean, I was quite disappointed about it, but I'll never forget it. You know, thanks obviously to Nicolas Cage's terrific performance here. Like, just like with Above the Law, I'd say probably just stick with the highlight clips on YouTube. But if you're curious, give it a watch. It ain't that bad. I'd give it a positive score, just like Above the Law. But I don't know, man. Like, it's it was a lot more mean-spirited than I thought it was going to be. And by the end, I was just sort of left cold by it. You know, like it wasn't something like American Psycho where that movie, like, and somehow Patrick Bateman is a more likable character than whatever this schmuck's name is. Like, I don't even remember Nicolas Cage's name, like his character's name in this movie. That's how, like, just how much he dominates this movie with his crazy coked up antics. Like, cause he's clearly hopped up on fucking coke throughout this damn movie, man. I mean, like, I couldn't see it being any other way. He is just, like, absolutely off the wall fucking nuts in this movie. And yeah, watch the highlight clips. But you know, if you're curious, give it a shot. I mean, I can't not recommend it. I think it is worth seeing at least once. But if you hate it, I'm sorry. Like, I've tried to warn you. Like, I'm not giving this a high recommendation. But you know, it's up to you to decide. Give it a shot or don't. I really don't care. I mean, it's just my opinion, and you'll make it up for yourselves, your opinion. But this next movie, moving on now, number 7, we got Dutch. This is a Ed O'Neill film. I think this was produced, written by, I think as well, by John Hughes. And this was an okay movie. I literally don't have much to say about this movie at all. I like the child actor in this film. I recognized him from something else, and fuck, I wish I pulled up like like Wikipedia or IMDb for it, but I'm not going to. Screw it. I'm not really that interested in looking up Dutch again, because like this was a movie like, and again I think like we're like 3 in a row of movies that I just feel are okay. This is the quintessential okay movie. Like I just there are so many moments in this movie where it's like, okay, it could do something, like it could make this Dutch character more likable. Like I kept waiting for him, because like the whole time he's built up as this like blue collar badass who can like beat the shit out of people. It has a great opening scene where he's threatening the dickhead from Billy Madison. I forget that guy's name, but he's like the bad guy in every like late 80s, early 90s, like 90s movie. He's like the bad guy in every 90s comedy. It's just like so consistent. Like you'll know him when you see him. And it's just like it has a great opening scene where like this dickhead millionaire guy is like oh, I'm not going to see my kid, and like you know, I'm going on a business trip because that's more important. And meanwhile, it's revealed later in the film that he's just sleeping around with this blonde bimbo or whatever. Oh, and yeah, Ed O'Neill's Dutch character, he has a great moment where he like literally takes this guy like in almost a headlock, and he goes like if you hurt this woman that I love in any way, I will fuck you. I will fuck you up so bad that your dog will bleed. Like, it's such a harsh line. I was like, whoa, that is like fucking like dark. But I'm like, you know what? Like, fuck it. Like, bring it on, man. Like, and his character, like he's the best part about this movie. His character, and Ed O'Neill, especially his performance, along with the child actor. Those two performances are the meat and potatoes of this movie. They really do hold this movie together. And Ed O'Neill's a really likable character in spite of his like mean streak, because he's not exactly a nice guy. He's sort of that like tough love sort of father figure sort of guy, and obviously the kid's gonna grow to appreciate and almost even like actually love him by the end. But you buy it, and that's what this film lingers on. Like like if whether or not you buy that relationship between the kid and the surrogate father, in this sense, Ed O'Neill's character, Ed O'Neill's Dutch character. This film hinges on whether or not you buy their relationship. And by the end, I cared about them. You know, it's not one of those movies that had me tearing up by the end, but hey, like it tugged on my heartstrings a little bit. It reached into the cockles of my heart, and you know, I could feel it beat a little bit extra. Usually it's just like flatline for me personally, but hey, you know, like this film is what it is. If you're looking for it's got a few laughs in there. Like but again, I can't stress enough. Like this film could have went further. I thought they could have made Dutch a more smart character, because at one point he gets robbed. And it's like, okay, I thought there was going to be a twist where it was revealed that he wasn't actually robbed, that he was just sort of lying about it in order to like teach this kid a lesson about how you can't always rely on money to solve your problems. And it's a good message. It's a good message for kids, I think. Like this film is rather raunchy, but it is a PG-13 movie. It's nothing as raunchy as what you'd get now, especially with a film like World's Greatest Dad. It's not that level of raunchy or like Superbad or whatever. Do I got anything else to say about this film? No, not really. I guess it is. I think it's either a Christmas or Thanksgiving themed movie, so maybe watch it around that point in time. Yeah, I think it's a Christmas related, Christmas setting based sort of movie. So maybe watch it around Christmas time. I don't know. You might like it. Ed O'Neill's pretty fun in it, and the kid, whatever the actor's name is, I really like the kid actor in this. I think he did a marvelous job. You'll probably recognize him from something. I kept like picturing the actor, like the older version of the actor, because I've seen him and stuff before. I just can't put my finger on what the hell it is. So yeah, give Dutch a shot if it sounds good to you. Anyhow, number 8. Moving on now, we got Bound. This is a Gina Gershon, Jennifer Tilly movie. Joe Pantaleone, is that his name? Joey Pants is what they call him in Hollywood, I guess. Joey Pants. Yeah, so this was from the Wachowskis, directed, written, I think written by the Wachowskis as well. This is their pre-Matrix film, and it's wow. This movie really is a marvelous sort of film. Like, it basically takes place almost entirely in one setting. The furthest it goes out to is like this bar, and that's like the only other setting, but most of it is like in this building or in the parking lot, and that's like the furthest it goes. I really enjoyed this movie. I mean, it's a romance about these like two lesbians who are sort of like plotting to steal the cash from these mobsters, and how they sort of plan on framing, you know, like I don't want to reveal too much about this movie in case you haven't seen it, because I reckon that a lot of people haven't. But yeah, this movie, I thought it was terrific. I mean, I don't think I'd give it my highest recommendation. I had a few problems with it. I suppose. I mean, it's not perfect, but I really like these 3 lead performances here. Gina Gershon's great. Jennifer Tilly's great. Joey Pantaleone, he's marvelous as well. I mean, like, it's a trifecta of just brilliant performances, and the film hinges on how great they are and how great the script is. And yeah, it's just a like brilliantly interesting caper movie that has you invested till the very end. I mean, like, I forget what my main problem was with this movie, because like I watched it a month ago, but yeah, in spite of whatever the hell my problem with it is, because I don't exactly remember, because I have the worst memory sometimes, but yeah, I really enjoyed this film. I mean, it got a lot of notoriety because of the lesbian sex scene in it, but it really doesn't last that long. Like, it's not as gratuitous as, say, that Blue is the Warmest Color movie. Like that, and that movie's like full on like softcore like sex scene. Like the sex scene in this movie is at least like artfully done. Like, it's got like this swooping sort of like camera shot, and it's got this like excellent score in the background as well. The score for this film is really great as well. Bring a mention to that as well. It's like this thumping, like intense, like score that really drives the sensuality of the scene, and like it's quite a romantic movie. Like, it's like a romantic sort of crime caper movie. It's really quite good, actually, and I think it's a shame that the I think it's a shame that most of the critics just like linger on the fact that it has that lesbian sex scene in it, and it's like only like 1% of the movie. It literally only lasts for maybe 30 seconds to a minute at most, and it's artfully done, and it's not gratuitous. It doesn't linger. It's not like softcore sex like Basic Instinct or whatever. It just, like, you know, you see it happen, and you're watching these two beautiful women be naked for a bit, and then it's over. You know, it's like, okay, moving on. Like, on to the plot now. Like, now that we know that they've actually had this sexual relationship. Now we can go forward with the plot, and it's a very sexy movie, very well acted, well written, well directed. Cinematography is great. The score again is just excellent. And yeah, damn, I wish I remember what the hell my complaint was, but like the more I think about it, I don't know, the more maybe I didn't have any complaints with this movie. Who knows? Like, so yeah, I would give this like basically my highest recommendation. I think you should definitely check this movie out. I think you'll see a lot of similarities between like this and The Matrix. It's kind of fun like seeing this with The Matrix in mind, because it's nothing too overt when it comes to the similarities, but like you almost get the sense that like the way these characters speak, and like the way some of it is shot, like it's very unique. And it's not like The Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions, where those films almost feel like they're shot like for a TV movie. Like it's just like very generic. They're shot well, but like there's something so clean and just like workman like about those last two Matrix movies. Whereas the first Matrix, like it felt like dirty, like especially that scene where Smith is just beating the hell out of Morpheus. It's like they're getting dust everywhere, and like Morpheus is all like bloodied and brutalized and shit. Whereas like the other two Matrix sequels are just like they're too clean, you know, like they're such clean movies compared to that first one, where they like even like at the end of the first Matrix, where like Neo does that sort of like pose, like after he's getting tossed around by Agent Smith in the train station. He does that sort of like like superhero pose, if you will, where you see the dust like flying off him, and it's just like that's such a cool shot. And it's like I love like when actors get down and dirty like that, you know, and this film has a lot of down and dirty moments, and it yeah, it's a great movie. Check out Bound. I think you'd really like it. Next movie, number 9. This one may be a bit tougher to recommend to people. Number 9, this is In the Company of Men. This is a Aaron Eckhart movie. I forget the other actors that star in it, but it's got a great cast. And get tired here looking at it turning darker over time as I just go on talking for. See, I said this would be a quick video. What the hell? And of course I go on for an hour. God damn it! What a hypocrite I am. What a liar. In the Company of Men, this was a solid movie. I watched this at the recommendation because I watched the Ebert and Roper review of it, and they gave it their highest recommendation. So I figured, you know, I've never seen this film, never heard of it before. Gave it a watch, and yeah, really loved this movie. I think maybe love is a strong word, because it's not exactly there to be loved. It's more so there to show you the cruelty of men, especially in the workplace. Like going back to Vampire's Kiss, this is much more effective at showing harassment in the workplace than that movie was, and how men in these like high positions get away with it, with their cruelty and whatnot. And Aaron Eckhart is just such a like bad guy in this film, like, and not in the typical sense where he's literally killing people. Like he's manipulating people, like, and it's very it's very disturbing, in not like the typical disturbing way where usually you associate disturbing with like extreme violence or sexual like depravity or whatever. Like this disturbing in the way that like he's doing these disgusting manipulative acts and he's getting away with it because like he's a handsome guy, he's in a powerful position, and yeah, there are a lot of instances in this film, like, and especially now, I think this film like is very relevant to this time, just as it was. I think this was made literally in the 2000s. Like literally the year 2000, I think this came out. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. I think everybody does a marvelous job. The woman playing the deaf girl in this, the one who's being manipulated by Aaron Eckhart, and Aaron Eckhart's like cowardly four-eyed friend, whatever the schmuck's name is. But this is a really fascinating film. I was very impressed with it, and also like Bound, it had a surprisingly great score to it. It has this reoccurring theme where it's like this chaotic sort of jazzy sort of like just craziness, where it perfectly represents what this movie's trying to do to you. It's just like chaotic, and it just it makes you think. Makes you ponder how people get away with this and why people get away with this in real life. And yeah, I would highly recommend this film. I think this is Aaron Eckhart's best performance for sure. The writing here is phenomenal. It doesn't overstay its welcome. I think this film's only like maybe 90 to 100 minutes, so it's very like quick. I never like was looking at my time like Joe Biden during that last presidential debate. I was never looking at my watch to see when it was over. And this was a phenomenal movie. Hey, Hal, last movie, because I'm getting tired, and I'm getting tired of talking here, you guys. Oh, God. But last movie we'll talk about here, number 10. This is OSS 117 Cairo Nest of Spies. Probably the worst name for a movie ever, in all honesty. But OSS 117, this was a damn fun movie, man. I had a ton of fun with this movie. This is a James Bond parody, obviously a parody of just the spy genre in general, but more so the Connery era of Bond movies this is a parody of. And this is a brilliant comedy, a brilliant performance by Jean Dupuis, or whatever the fella's name is. I forget what this main actor's name is, but you'll probably recognize him from the black and white movie called The Artist. He was wonderful in that movie. He's wonderful in this. He's so charming. If he wasn't French, I swear to God, he'd be a shoo-in to play James Bond, because like he just has that like a look, you know, like that classic suave, charming look. And this is better, honestly. This movie, this fucking Bond parody is better than most of the Bond movies I've seen ever. Like honestly, like this is better than the majority of the Bond movies. And what's great about this is that this movie, it didn't need a huge budget. Like all those damn Bond movies need like a budget of like whatever the hell the new one's budget is. It's like 300 million, some ridiculous nonsense like that. It's like, wow. And it's just, yeah, it's ridiculous, the budget of those Bond movies, in my opinion. But like you get a film like this, which obviously like didn't have a very massive budget. But yeah, like it's amazing what they do. So some of the action sequences, like some of the action sequences, as simple as they are and as quick as they are, they're really quite fun. Like at one point, there's this like hotel room fight early on, where he's tossing around the guy. It kind of reminded me of Seagal, just tossing around the guy, you know, like, and at the same time, there's this girl on the bed or whatever, and she's like, oh, are you gonna be okay? And then it's like, oh yeah, like I love fighting, man. Fighting's my favorite. Meanwhile, he's like fighting this guy and almost not even trying, because he's so awesome at it. God. Yeah, I don't got much to complain about with this movie. I mean, if I did have one complaint, I'd say it's a little too long. Like, I think this was close to 2 hours in length. I think it could have shaved maybe 5 to 10 minutes off of its runtime. But like I don't know what the hell you would take out of this movie, because most of it is just like consistently hilarious. Like especially these flashbacks that are in, like, I think they're in black and white, but if they're not, forgive me for the error. But there are these reoccurring flashbacks to OSS 117's character and his buddy, like his other friend who dies. That's the reason he goes to Cairo in the first place. His spy buddy gets killed somehow, and he's trying to like figure out the mystery of it. And that's the other thing too. This film's got an interesting mystery that you, along with the main characters, are always trying to figure out, like, what the hell's going on. Like, and it's really fun to play along with the whole whodunit angle of this movie, and who the real villain is. Like, it keeps like pulling the rug from out under you. You're constantly curious as to what the hell's going on, and by the end, I was shocked that I didn't like guess what was going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if most people do, because like sometimes I'm just a dummy and I'm like, okay, how did I not see that coming? But yeah, this film was a lot of fun. I kept laughing consistently throughout, like especially due to this main actor. He's marvelous here. Such a suave guy. I'd love to see the sequel to this film sometime. I forget what the sequel is called, but I'd love to watch that at some point. Maybe you'll hear me talk about it in the future. And but for now, yeah, I'm looking out at the sky. It turned, when I started this video, it was light blue. Now it's dark blue. So I think that's a time. I'm getting sleepier than Joe over here, and yeah, guys. So yeah, go be safe out there. Chomp on a lot of vitamin D. You know. Get those bones healthy. Drink a lot of OJ or milk or what have you. Get your vitamin D, your vitamin C, your zinc in you. You know, I want you all to be safe out there, you know, because eventually we are going to have to reopen our world. You know, we can't just stay closed down forever. Like this whole notion, like here in Canada, it's not lockdown city per se, but I do feel bad for some parts of the States, you know, like because they got like the #1 cases and the #1 deaths and shit like that. And I really do feel for those guys there, especially with the election underway and all these riots and all this nonsense going on down there. I really wish them well over there, because it's going to be crazy this next week. And like part of me is looking forward to it, but another part of me is like really like terrified as to how these elections will, or this election will turn out. But we'll see, and I hope you all stay safe out there. I mean, because I really do feel for you, quite honestly, and I hope these videos of me just ranting to the camera like this, I hope they can bring you some sort of delight, some sort of solace or what have you, and yeah, check out some of these movies. Like I would highly recommend World's Greatest Dad, Out for Justice, Bound, In the Company of Men, OSS 117. I mean, check those 5 movies out, and I don't think you could go wrong. I think you'd really enjoy them. And yeah, you guys, my camera, literally the battery just turned to like a one little notch here, so it's down below the 25% range now, I suppose. So it's always fun to talk with you. I mean, like I never expect these videos to do gangbusters, since it's just my ugly mug talking to the damn camera for way too fucking long and ranting about movies that nobody's seen. But it's always a delight watching or talking about these movies with you, and I hope you've had fun watching me sort of make a mockery of myself on camera here. I wish that damn cat of mine was on camera more. That little cutie. She's probably sleeping in the chair over there or something like that. But I'm terrible at saying goodbye, aren't I? Take care, you guys. It's never goodbye. It's see you later, as Denzel Washington from Man on Fire would say to Dakota Fanning at the end of that movie. It's never goodbye. It's see you later. And I shall see you all later. Take care, everybody. Be safe out there.